The vote took 3 hours. 3 long, painful hours of waiting while the council members argued and debated and shouted at each other. Una sat with her crew in a small room off to the side, watching through a window as the aliens fought over the future of humanity. "What do you think will happen?" Minho asked. His young face was tight with worry. "I do not know," Una said honestly. "I said what I needed to say. Now it is up to them." Taiho paced back and forth across the small room. He was not good at waiting. None of them were. Humans were creatures of action. Sitting still while others decided their fate was almost physically painful. Hana was reading something on her screen, her eyes moving fast. "The reports are already spreading," she said. "News stations across the galaxy are talking about us. About what you said in there. What are they saying?" Una asked. Hana hesitated. "Some good things. Some bad things. Many are confused. They do not know what to make of us." "Good," Una said. "Confused is better than certain. Confused people ask questions. Certain people just attack." The door opened, and a soldier stepped in. It was a different one this time, smaller and less decorated than the ones from before. "The vote is finished," the soldier said. "The warlord requests your presence." They followed the soldier back into the main chamber. The atmosphere had changed. Before, there had been hostility and suspicion in the air. Now there was something else. Something like exhaustion, mixed with something like relief. Korvac stood at his seat, waiting for them. His face was unreadable, his burning eyes calm. "The council has voted," he announced, his voice filling the room. It was close. Very close. But in the end, the vote passed. Una felt her heart jump, but she kept her face still. "Humanity is accepted into the Galactic Council," Korvac continued, "as a trial member with limited rights for a period of 10 standard years. After that time, there will be another vote. 10 years. It was not full acceptance. It was not everything they had hoped for. But it was a start. It was a chance." "Thank you," Una said. "We will not waste this opportunity." Korvac nodded slowly. Then he stepped down from his platform and walked toward her. The other council members watched in silence. "There is something I want to say to you," Korvac said, stopping in front of her. "Something private." He glanced at the watching aliens, then back at Una. "Walk with me," he said. Yun. A looked at Taiho, who shook his head slightly. He did not like the idea of her going alone with the warlord. But Una had learned to trust her instincts, and her instincts told her this was important. "I will be fine," she said quietly. "Wait for me here." She followed Korvac out of the chamber and into a long hallway. They walked in silence for a while, moving deeper into parts of the station that Una had not seen before. Finally, they reached a room with a large window looking out at the stars. Korvac stopped and stared at the view. "Do you know how old I am?" he asked. "No," Una said. "I have lived for 400 of your years," Korvac said. "I have fought in more wars than I can count. I have seen species rise and fall. I have watched empires burn." He turned to look at her. "In all that time, I have never met anyone like you." Una did not know what to say, so she stayed quiet. "When I first heard about humans," Korvac continued, "I expected monsters. The reports described a species of predators, violent and unpredictable. I thought you would come here with weapons and threats, trying to take what you wanted by force." "Many species would have done that," Una said. "Yes," Korvac agreed. "Many have. But you did not. You came with 12 people on a small ship. You sent a woman, not a warrior. And when I challenged you to fight, you did not use anger or hate. You used patience, intelligence, control." He shook his head slowly. "I do not understand you," he admitted. "Your species has done terrible things. Your history is filled with blood and destruction. Yet here you stand, talking about hope and trust and working together. How do you hold both inside you? How can you be so violent and so gentle at the same time? Yuna thought about the question. It was a good one she had asked herself many times. We are not one thing, she said finally. We are many things. We carry the capacity for great evil, yes, but we also carry the capacity for great good. Every human is a choice. Every day, we decide who we want to be. She looked out at the stars. Most days, we choose kindness, she continued. Not because it is easy. Not because we are naturally good. But because we know what happens when we do not choose kindness. We have seen it. We have lived through it. And we decided we wanted something different. Korvac was quiet for a long moment. The fire in your eyes, he said. When you spoke to the council, what was that? I have seen many emotions in many species. But that was something new. Yuna smiled. You asked me before what humans are, she said. I told you we are survivors. But that is only part of the answer. The full answer is more complicated. She turned to face him directly. We are survivors, yes. But we are also dreamers. We look at the stars and we imagine what could be. We face impossible situations and we refuse to accept that they are impossible. We fall down 1,000 times and get up 1,001 times. She stepped closer to him. The fire you see is not anger. It is not hate. It is the refusal to give up. It is the belief that no matter how dark things get, there is always a way forward. It is the thing that kept us alive when we should have died. It is hope, Warlord. Pure, stubborn, unreasonable hope. Korvac stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he did something that surprised her. He smiled. I think I was wrong about you, he said. I called you beasts. I called you monsters. But you are not those things. What are we then? Yuna asked. Korvac laughed softly. It was the first time she had heard him laugh without cruelty. You are exactly what this galaxy needs, he said. Something new. Something that does not fit the old patterns. Something that might actually change things. He reached out and put his hand on her shoulder. It was the first friendly touch she had received since arriving at the station. Welcome to the council, human, he said. I have a feeling your people are going to make things very interesting. Yuna smiled back at him. You have no idea, she said. They walked back to the chamber together. The warlord and the woman with flames in her eyes. Behind them, through the window, the stars watched silently. A new chapter was beginning. Not just for humanity. For everyone and no one, not even the oldest and wisest creatures in the galaxy, knew what would happen next. But for the first time in a very long time, they were curious to find out. Yuna could not sleep that night. Her body was tired, but her mind was too busy. She sat by the small window in their room and looked out at the stars. So many of them. So many worlds. So many species she had never met. And all of them afraid of her people. Teho came and sat next to her. He did not speak. He just stayed there, quiet and steady, like he always was. Do you remember Earth? Yuna asked after a while. Do you remember what it was like before we left? I remember the wars, Teho said. I remember the hunger. I remember thinking we would never make it. But we did, Yuna said. Somehow, we did. She thought about her grandmother, who had lived through the worst of it. The old woman had stories that still gave Yuna nightmares. Cities burning. Food running out. People turning against each other just to survive. But her grandmother also had other stories. Stories of strangers helping strangers. Of enemies becoming friends. Of humans finding hope in the darkest places. We are strange creatures, Yuna said. We can be so cruel, so destructive, but we can also be so kind, so brave. I do not understand us sometimes. Neither do I, Taiho admitted. But I know one thing. When things get bad, really bad, we become better. It is like we need the darkness to find our light. Yuna smiled. It was a good way to put it. The next morning came too fast. The council meeting was held in a massive chamber at the center of the station. Every species sent representatives. Hundreds of different creatures, all shapes and sizes, all watching as the humans walked in. Korvac sat at the head of the room, his silver scales reflecting the lights above. Around him, other council leaders waited. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. A few looked at Yuna with naked hatred. "Welcome, humans," Korvac said. "You have earned the right to speak. Speak now. Tell us why we should accept you." Yuna stepped forward. She was still sore from yesterday's fight, but she did not let it show. She stood in the center of the room, alone, facing all those eyes. "Thank you for this chance," she began. "I know many of you do not trust us. I know you have seen our history, our wars, our weapons. I will not pretend those things did not happen." Whispers spread through the room. Some of the aliens seemed surprised by her honesty. "But I want to tell you something else about humans," Yuna continued. "Something you might not have seen in your records." She took a breath. This was the important part. 70 years ago, our planet was dying. We had used too much, taken too much. The air was poison. The water was dirty. Millions were sick. Everyone thought we were finished. The room was quiet now. They were listening. "But we did not give up," Yuna said. "We changed. It was hard. It was painful. Many did not want to do it. But we did it anyway. We cleaned our air. We fixed our water. We learned to live differently. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary." She looked around the room, meeting as many eyes as she could. That is what humans do. We make mistakes, terrible mistakes, but we also learn from them. We get better, not always fast enough, not always perfectly, but we keep trying. We never stop trying. One of the council members stood up. It was a creature made of blue light, floating above its seat. Its voice was like music, beautiful but cold. "Pretty words," it said. "But words are cheap. Your species has a habit of saying one thing and doing another. How do we know this is not another trick?" "You do not," Yuna admitted. "You cannot know for sure. Trust takes time. It has to be earned through actions, not words." "Then why should we take the risk?" the blue creature asked. "Why not simply destroy you now before you become a threat?" The room tensed. Some of the aliens nodded in agreement. It was a fair question in their minds. Kill a threat before it grew too big. I felt something rise inside her. Not anger. Something deeper. The same fire she had felt in the arena. The same burning that had kept her going when her body wanted to stop. "Because you need us," she said. Laughter filled the room. Cruel laughter. Mocking laughter. But Yuna did not stop. "Look at yourselves," she said, her voice growing stronger. "Look at your council. How many species are here? Hundreds? And how many of you actually trust each other? How many of you would die for the one sitting next to you?" The laughter faded. Uncomfortable looks passed between the aliens. "I see your alliance," Yuna continued. "And I see it is held together by fear. Fear of enemies outside. Fear of each other. You do not trust. You do not hope. You just survive." Korvac leaned forward, his eyes burning brighter than before. "And you think humans are different?" he asked. "I know we are," Yuna said. "Because we have something you lost a long time ago. We still believe tomorrow can be better than today. We still believe in each other. Not always. Not perfectly. But enough. She stepped closer to Korvac, looking up at him without fear. That is the fire you see in my eyes, Warlord. Not anger. Not hate. Hope. The belief that even enemies can become friends. That even the worst of us can change. The room was completely silent now. Every eye was on her. We do not want to destroy you, Yuna said. We do not want to conquer you. We want to join you. To learn from you. To share what we have learned. To build something together that none of us could build alone. She turned in a slow circle, addressing the whole council. But if you cannot accept that, if you can only see us as a threat to be destroyed, then we will fight. Not because we want to, but because we will not let our species die without trying everything else first. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper, but somehow it filled the entire room. We have crawled through extinction events. We have survived plagues and wars and disasters that should have ended us. We are still here, and we will always be here, no matter what you do. So the question is not whether you can destroy us. The question is whether you want to spend the next 1,000 years trying, or whether you want to work together and see what we can become. She stopped speaking. The silence stretched on and on. Then Korvac stood up. He walked down from his seat, his heavy footsteps echoing through the chamber. He stopped in front of Yuna, towering over her. You are either the bravest creature I have ever met, he said slowly, or the most foolish. Yuna met his gaze. Maybe both. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, Korvac did something that made the whole room gasp. He bowed his head. I will support the alliance, he said. Let the vote begin. The fight had been going on for 10 minutes. To Yuna, it felt like hours. Her legs were burning. Her lungs were fighting for air. Sweat covered her face, and her uniform was torn in 3 places where the devourer had come too close. But she was still standing. And the creature was starting to slow down. The crowd had stopped making sounds. They watched in complete silence, their many eyes following every movement in the arena. They had expected a quick death. They had expected to see the human crushed in seconds. Instead, they saw something they did not understand. The devourer roared again, but this time the roar was weaker. Its 3 eyes blinked slowly, and its movements were not as sharp as before. Yuna had made it chase her for 10 minutes without rest. For a creature that used power and speed to win fast, this was new. This was hard. Yuna stopped running. She stood in the center of the arena and faced the creature. Come on, she said softly. One more time. The devourer charged. It was slower now, much slower than at the start. Yuna waited until it was close, then moved to the side. But this time, she did not just dodge. This time, she jumped. Her body flew through the air, light and fast. She landed on the creature's back, her hands grabbing the edges of its armor plates. The devourer screamed in surprise and tried to shake her off. It spun in circles. It slammed its body against the wall. But Yuna held on. She climbed higher, using the gaps between the plates like steps on a ladder. The creature could not reach her with its teeth. Its legs were too short to touch its own back. It was helpless. What is she doing? Korvac asked, leaning forward in his seat. His burning eyes were wide with something that might have been shock. Taiho smiled from the edge of the arena. She is finding the weakness. Yuna reached the creature's neck. Here, the armor plates were smaller. They had to be, so the creature could move its head. And between those smaller plates, she saw what she was looking for. Skin. Soft, unprotected skin. She pushed her fingers into the gap and squeezed. Hard. The devourer screamed. It was a different sound now, not angry but hurt. It fell to its front knees, trying to pull away from the pain. Pressure points, Hana whispered, her eyes bright with understanding. She is using pressure points. The nervous system. It does not matter how strong you are. Pain is pain. Yuna squeezed harder. The creature's whole body shook. Its legs gave way one by one until it was lying flat on the ground. Its three eyes looked up at her, and for the first time, she saw fear in them. "Enough," she said. "Stop fighting. I do not want to kill you." The creature made a low sound, something like a cry. It stopped moving. Yuna released her grip and jumped down from its back. She landed softly on the arena floor and stepped away. The devourer stayed down, breathing hard but alive. The arena was completely silent. Then, slowly, sounds started. Not cheering, not laughing, whispers. Thousands of voices, all asking the same question, how? Korvac stood up. His face was hard to read, but his body was stiff, like he was holding back strong emotions. "The fight is over," he announced. His voice echoed through the arena. "The human wins." More whispers. Some of the aliens looked angry. Others looked confused. A few, just a few, looked impressed. Yuna walked toward Korvac. She was tired, more tired than she had ever been in her life. But she did not let it show. She kept her back straight and her head high. "We have proven ourselves," she said. "Now you will listen to us." That was the deal. Korvac stared at her for a long moment. Then he looked at the devourer, still lying on the ground. The most dangerous creature in his collection, beaten by a small human female with no weapons. "How did you know?" he asked quietly, so only she could hear. "How did you know it had weakness points on its neck?" "I did not know," Yuna said. "I guessed." Humans are good at guessing. We call it intuition. "Intuition," Korvac repeated, like he was tasting the word. "Every creature has weak points," Yuna continued. "No matter how strong, no matter how big, there is always a way to beat them. You just have to be willing to look, to try, to fail and try again." Korvac was quiet. His burning eyes studied her face, looking for lies, for tricks. He found none. "Your species is very strange," he said finally. "I know," Yuna agreed. "That is our strength." Taiho and the rest of the crew reached her. Hana immediately checked her injuries, making unhappy sounds at every cut and bruise. Minho put a hand on her shoulder, his young face full of pride. "Captain," Taiho said, his voice thick with emotion he was trying to hide. I have never seen anything like that." "It was nothing," Yuna said. But she let herself lean against him, just for a moment. Just long enough to catch her breath. Korvac walked down from his platform and approached them. The crowd watched, waiting to see what would happen next. "You have earned the right to speak," Korvac said. "Tomorrow, the full council will meet. You will present your case for alliance. But I warn you, many of them will not be happy about today. They wanted to see you die. They wanted proof that humans are just animals that got lucky with technology. And now?" Yuna asked. Korvac looked at her. For a moment, something like respect flickered in his eyes. "Now they are afraid," he said. "And afraid people do dangerous things." He turned and walked away, his soldiers following behind him. The crowd started to leave too, still whispering, still trying to understand what they had seen. Yuna watched them go. She was not happy about making them afraid. Fear was useful, but it was also unpredictable. Afraid people could run away, or they could attack. She needed to turn that fear into something else. Respect. Maybe even friendship. But that would come later. For now, she was just tired. "Let us go back to our room," she said. "I need to rest. Tomorrow will be harder than today." "How can tomorrow be harder?" Minho asked. "You just beat an unkillable monster." Yuna smiled, but it was a sad smile. Fighting is easy, Minho. It is simple. You win or you lose. Talking is harder. Words can be twisted. Promises can be broken. Tomorrow, I will not fight a beast. I will fight something much more dangerous. What? Minho asked. Politics, Yuna said. Taeho laughed quietly. She is right. Give me a monster any day. At least monsters are honest about wanting to kill you. They walked back to their room, 12 humans alone on a station of millions. Behind them, the arena grew dark and quiet. But the story of what happened there was already spreading, already changing. By morning, every creature on the station would know about the small human who had made the devourer bow, and they would all be wondering the same thing. What else could these humans do? The room they gave the humans was cold and gray. The beds were hard, and the food tasted like nothing. But Yuna did not complain. She had slept in worse places. They all had. Taeho sat next to her, his face serious. They are planning something. I can feel it. Of course they are, Yuna said. Korvac did not invite us here to be friends. He wants to know if we are a threat. Are we? Hannah asked from across the room. She was looking at a small screen, reading information about the station. Yuna thought for a moment. Not yet, but we could be. That is what scares them. The door opened and a soldier stepped inside. It was the same one from before, the one with all the medals on his armor. The warlord wants to see you, he said. All of you, now. They followed him through the station again. This time, they went a different way. The halls were darker here, and the air smelled different. Older, like a place where bad things happened. They entered a large open area. It was round, like a bowl, with seats rising up on all sides. Thousands of aliens sat in those seats, watching. In the center of the bowl, there was an empty space. An arena. Korvac stood at the edge of the arena, waiting for them. His silver scales shined under the lights, and his burning eyes watched every step they took. Welcome, humans, he said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Today, you will show us what you are made of. Yuna stopped in front of him. What do you mean? Korvac smiled. In our culture, words mean nothing. Actions mean everything. If you want respect, you must earn it. If you want to be equals, you must prove you deserve it. How? Yuna asked. Korvac pointed at the arena. Combat. One of you will fight my champion. If you win, we will listen to you. We will consider your request for alliance. If you lose, he paused. If you lose, you will leave this station and never come back. Your planet will be marked as unworthy. The crowd made sounds of excitement. They wanted to see blood. They wanted to see pain. Taeho stepped forward. I will fight. Minho also moved. No, let me. I am the youngest. I have the most energy. But Yuna raised her hand, and they both stopped. No, she said. I will do it. The crowd became quiet. Then, slowly, laughter started. It grew and grew until the whole arena was filled with the sound. Thousands of aliens laughing at her. Korvac tilted his head. You? The small female? You want to fight my champion? Yes, Yuna said simply. Korvac's eyes burned brighter. Do you know what my champion is? It is a creature from a death world. A planet where everything wants to kill everything else. It has fought in 100 battles and never lost. It has killed things much bigger and stronger than you. I understand, Yuna said. Taeho grabbed her arm. Captain, please. This is madness. Let me go instead. Yuna looked at him. Her eyes were calm, like a still lake before a storm. Taeho, she said quietly, so only he could hear. They need to see that size does not matter. Strength does not matter. They need to see what humans really are. Not our men. Not our soldiers. Me. A woman who looks like nothing special. That is what will scare them. Taiho wanted to argue, but he saw something in her face. Something hard. Something unbreakable. He let go of her arm and stepped back. "I trust you," he said. Yuna nodded. Then she turned back to Korvac. "I am ready," she said. Korvac studied her for a long moment. Then he waved his hand. "Bring out the beast." A gate at the far end of the arena opened. For a moment, there was only darkness. Then something moved in that darkness. Something big done. It stepped into the light, and Yuna felt her heart beat faster. But she did not let her face show it. The creature was massive. It stood on 4 legs, each one thick like a tree. Its body was covered in armor, natural plates that grew from its skin. Its head was large, with 3 eyes and a mouthful of teeth as long as Yuna's forearm. It made a sound, something between a growl and a scream, and the arena shook. "This is my champion," Korvac said. "We call it the Devourer. It has eaten enemies alive. It has broken ships with its body. It fears nothing." Yuna looked at the creature. It was watching her too, its 3 eyes focused on her small body. "Does it have a weakness?" Hannah whispered from behind. "Everything has a weakness," Yuna said. "I just need to find it." She walked toward the arena. The crowd grew quiet again, this time with something like curiosity. They had never seen a creature so small volunteer to fight something so big. Yuna stepped into the arena. The ground was hard under her feet, covered in old stains that she did not want to think about. She stood straight and faced the Devourer. Korvac raised his hand. "The rules are simple. Fight until one cannot fight anymore. No weapons. No help. Just you and the beast." Yuna nodded. She was already studying the creature. The way it moved. The way it breathed. The way its eyes followed her. "Begin," Korvac shouted. The Devourer roared and charged. It moved fast, faster than Yuna expected for something so big. The ground shook with each step. Yuna did not move. She stood still, watching. The creature came closer, closer. The crowd held its breath. At the last moment, Yuna moved. Not back, to the side. The Devourer rushed past her, its huge body missing her by inches. It crashed into the wall of the arena, making a sound like thunder. The crowd gasped. Yuna was already moving again, circling around the creature. She watched how it turned, how it recovered. It was strong, yes. It was fast, yes. But it was not smart. It relied on its size to win. It expected smaller things to be afraid. But Yuna was not afraid. The Devourer turned and roared again. This time, it did not charge. It watched her, learning. It was not completely stupid then. Yuna smiled. Good. A smart enemy was more interesting than a dumb one. "You think you can beat that thing?" Korvac called out, amusement in his voice. "You can't even hurt it. Your small hands cannot break through its armor." Yuna did not answer. She was thinking. The armor was strong, yes. But armor was heavy. Heavy things got tired. And tired things made mistakes. She started to move. Not toward the creature. Around it. In circles. Fast, then slow. Changing direction. Never stopping. The Devourer followed her with its eyes, turning its body to keep her in sight. It was getting confused. It was getting frustrated. It charged again. Yuna dodged again. But this time, she touched it as it passed. Just a light touch on its back leg. Feeling the texture of its armor. Finding the places where the plates connected. Every armor had gaps. She just needed to find them. The crowd watched in silence now. They were not laughing anymore. They were starting to understand that this was not going to be a quick fight. This was going to be something they would remember for a very long time. The ship moved through the dark space like a small fish in a very big ocean. Inside, Captain Yuna sat in her chair and watched the stars pass by. She was not tall. She was not big. But there was something in her eyes that made people listen when she spoke. "Captain, we are close now," said Taiho from his seat. He was her second in command, a quiet man with steady hands and a calm voice. "The station will see us in 10 minutes. Yuna nodded slowly. She had waited 3 years for this moment. Earth had finally made contact with other life in the universe. The Galactic Council had sent a message. They wanted to meet the humans. They wanted to see what kind of creatures lived on that small blue planet. "What do we know about them?" asked Hana, the ship's doctor. She was young but very smart. Her job was to keep everyone healthy, but she also studied alien biology. "Not much," Taiho answered. "They have been watching us for a long time. They know about our wars. They know about our weapons. They think we are dangerous." Yuna smiled a little. "Good. Let them think that." The ship came closer to the station. It was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. Lights covered every part of it, blue and white and gold. Ships of all sizes floated around it like insects around a lamp. "They are calling us," said Minho, the communications officer. He was the youngest on the ship, only 25 years old. "They want us to dock at Gate 7. "Tell them we are coming," Yuna said. The ship moved slowly toward the gate. Yuna stood up and looked at her crew. There were only 12 of them. 12 humans on a ship, going to meet aliens who controlled half the galaxy. "Remember," she said, "we are not here to fight. We are here to talk. But if they push us, we do not step back. We are humans. We do not break easily." The crew nodded. They trusted her. They had followed her through hard times before. The ship entered the gate and stopped. The doors opened and Yuna walked out first. The air was cold and smelled strange, like metal and something sweet. A long hallway stretched before her, with high walls and bright lights dotted at the end of the hallway. Soldiers waited. They were not human. They were tall, much taller than any person Yuna had ever seen. Their skin was gray, and their eyes were black like deep water. They held weapons that glowed with energy. One of them stepped forward. He was bigger than the others, and his armor was covered with marks that looked like medals. "You are the humans," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "We expected something different." Yuna looked up at him. She did not move back. She did not show fear. "Different how?" she asked. The soldier made a sound that might have been a laugh. "We have heard stories about your kind. Creatures that hunt and kill. Beasts that never stop fighting. We expected monsters. And what do you see?" Yuna asked. The soldier looked down at her. She was small next to him. Her head barely reached his chest. But she stood straight, and her eyes did not look away. "I see a small female," he said. "I see something weak." Behind Yuna, Taiho's hand moved toward his weapon. But Yuna raised her hand slightly, telling him to wait. "You see what I allow you to see," Yuna said quietly. "You see what I choose to show." The soldier stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned and started walking. "Follow me," he said. "The council is waiting." They walked through the station. Everywhere they went, aliens stopped to look at them. Some were tall, like the soldiers. Others were small, with many legs or many eyes. Some had no shape at all, just clouds of color that floated in the air. All of them stared at the humans. "They are afraid of us," Hana whispered. "No," Yuna said. "They are curious. Fear will come later." They reached a large room with a high ceiling. In the center, a round table sat on the floor. Around it, creatures of many kinds waited. These were the leaders of the Galactic Council, the most powerful beings in the known universe. One of them stood up. It was covered in silver scales, and its eyes burned like small suns. "Welcome, humans," it said. "I am Korvac, warlord of the Eastern Systems. I speak for the Council today." Yuna bowed her head slightly. "I am Captain Yuna of Earth. I speak for my people." Korvac walked around the table, looking at the humans one by one. He stopped in front of Yuna. "Your planet is young," he said. "Your species is young. You have been alive for only a moment compared to us. Yet you have already built ships to cross the stars." "How?" "We learn fast," Yuna said. "Yes," Korvac agreed. "We have seen. We have watched your wars. We have seen how you kill each other. Millions dead in a single generation. Millions detonation. Weapons that can burn entire cities. That is our past," Yuna said. "We are trying to be better." Korvac laughed. It was not a kind sound. "Better?" he said. "Your kind does not become better. You only become stronger. That is why we are worried. That is why some on this council wanted to destroy your planet before you could leave it." The room became very quiet. Yuna felt her crew move closer behind her. They were ready to fight if needed, but Yuna just smiled. "You did not destroy us," she said. "You invited us here instead." "Why?" Korvac's eyes narrowed. "Because I wanted to see for myself. I wanted to know what kind of creature survives everything your planet has thrown at you. Ice ages, plagues, wars. You should be dead 100 times over." Yuna nodded. "Yes, we should be. But we are not. So, what are you?" Korvac asked. "What are humans really?" Yuna looked at him. In her eyes, something burned. Not anger. Something deeper. Something older. "We are the ones who refuse to die," she said. "And we are just getting started." The council members whispered to each other. Korvac stared at Yuna for a long time. Then, slowly, he smiled. "Interesting," he said. "Very interesting. We will talk more tomorrow. For now, rest. You will need your strength for what comes next." Yuna did not ask what he meant. She already knew. This was a test. Everything here was a test, and she planned to pass it.